So guys, welcome back to BCM Breaking News. But before I allow you guys to watch this particular interview and hear what they have to say concerning things going on in Nigeria now, I want you guys to just take a look at these two headlines. So this first headline here said, I've been marked for elimination as Boko Haram figure, Sheikh Gumi claims, citing Abuja security sources. And many people have been reacting to this particular headline. So somebody here tweeted and said, and be rest assured that the mission will be completed soon, except you withdraw your support for those terrorists and bandits. And that person went on further to tweet and he said, he should alert his brothers in the forest to start going everywhere to get him protected. And that person tweeted and said, he's a terrorist and he has remained unrepentant. It's just to eliminate him and the MURIC in Southwest. And that person tweeted and said, congratulations, sir, that's what's wanted. What do you expect when you're the one interceding for the terrorists? You know their camps, you go there to negotiate with them, you sympathize with them, you defend them. Obviously, you're one of them. And that person tweeted and said, elimination is an understatement. You have been marked for devolution. So guys, let us take a look at this next headline. So my question is, what does the North even want in their life? Like, what do they really want? So this headline here says that residents march against US presidents in northern Nigeria, say Trump not welcome. You can see in this particular video, they're carrying Trump's picture and they're protesting, saying that they don't want Trump in their side. Many people have been reacting to this particular headline. So somebody here tweeted and said, police and army will not attack them, but if people are protesting against this evil government, then the army will use tear gas and bullets. And that person tweeted and said, they refuse to protest against the killing of innocent citizens by terrorists, but all of them crying because Trump is killing terrorists. And tomorrow someone will say the northern regions are not terrorist breeders. Very useless 35 pass mark nuisance. And that person tweeted and said, misplaced priorities and northerners are 5 and 6. Not thinking or protesting on how your lives can get better, but protesting for rubbish. You all will be frontliners. You all have never come out this way with the number of killings happening every day, and yet this people are really disappointed. And anyway, guys, I'm gonna allow you guys to listen to this particular interview and hear what these people have to say about things happening in Nigeria currently now. So guys, please watch the video and drop your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'm going to be right back to take you guys on more reactions on this headline. So guys, watch this video.
Does it also apply to the United States of America? How do the people of Venezuela feel about this? Well, we saw a cross-section of them jubilating and a cross-section of them saying it is actually morally wrong for the US to do what it did. Now, another thing to consider was the House taking along in this plan? Well, let me tell you, President Donald Trump said they weren't taking along. That the reason was that it was a very sensitive thing. If they had taken the House along, there would have been leaks. Obviously means that the United Nations was also not carried along about this operation. And then the question is that why was the United Nations quiet amidst all of this? Who is the largest shareholder and the major decision maker within the United Nations? It is the United States. We're going to be looking into what this means, particularly how the stunt that Trump pulled, how it's going to affect other nations, specifically Russia, China, and in the middle of this, one particular West African nation of interest, which is Nigeria. Let's take a very brief listen to Trump and what he said, admitting that oil was basically their major interest in all of this. Regardless of how a lot of people feel, the interest of America comes first.
The U.S. is going to run Venezuela. So who's in power right now?
Well, we're going to be running it with a group, and we're going to make sure it's run properly. We're going to rebuild the oil infrastructure, which will cost billions of dollars. It'll be paid for by the oil companies directly. They will be reimbursed for what they're doing, but that's going to be paid. And we're going to get the oil flowing the way it should be. As you know, it was just a minor flow. It was actually a minor flow for what they have. But we're going to run it properly, and we're going to make sure the people of Venezuela are taken care of. We're going to make sure the people that were forced out of Venezuela by this thug are also taken care of.
Mr. President, does the U.S. running the country mean that U.S. troops will be on the ground? How will that work?
Well, you know, they always say boots on the ground. Oh, so we're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to have. We had boots on the ground last night at a very high level, actually. We're not afraid of it. We don't mind saying it. But we're going to make sure that that country is run properly. We're not doing this in vain. This is a very dangerous attack. This is an attack that could have gone very, very badly. Could have gone very badly. We could have lost a lot of people last night. We could have lost a lot of dignity. We could have lost a lot of equipment. The equipment is less important, but we could have lost a lot. And we're going to make sure that this is proper. We're there now. We're ready to go again if we have to. We're going to run the country right. It's going to be run very judiciously, very fairly. It's going to make a lot of money. We're going to give money to the people. We're going to reimburse people that were taken advantage of. We're going to take care of everybody. It's very important. We couldn't let them get away with it. You know, they stole our oil. We built that whole industry there, and they just took it over like we were nothing. And we had a president that decided not to do anything about it. So we did something about it. We're late, but we did something about it. Yeah, please.
Are you explaining the exact mechanism by which you're going to run the country? Are you going to designate a U.S. official to coordinate?
It's all being done right now. We're designating people. We're talking to people. We're designating various people, and we're going to let you know who those people are.
What's the group you mentioned that would run Venezuela?
Well, it's largely going to be, for a period of time, the people that are standing right behind me. We're going to be running it. We're going to be bringing it back. It's a dead, I talk about a dead country. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're a country doing better than any country anywhere in the world. And it required leadership. Venezuela has a lot of bad people in there, a lot of bad people that shouldn't be leading. We're not going to take a chance that one of those people take over for Maduro. So you can look at, and others, we have fantastic people, including people in the military. So we're going to have a group of people running it until such time as it can be put back on track, make a lot of money for the people, and give people a great way of life, and also reimbursement for people in our country that were forced out of Venezuela.
You said earlier today that you weren't going to back Machado to come back and be the opposition leader in your Fox and Friends interview. And then you also mentioned the vice president of Venezuela. Are you going to work with the vice president of Venezuela, or how do you foresee the relationship
going?
I
understand she was just sworn in, but she was, as you know, picked by Maduro. So Marco's working on that directly. He's just had a conversation with her, and she's essentially willing to do what we think is necessary to make Venezuela great again. Very simple.
Mr. President, Colombian President Gustavo Petro, a couple weeks ago, he said he's got to watch his ass. And today, he said he's not concerned about anything happening to him in the aftermath of this operation. So, just what your message is
Well,
about
he
that.
has cocaine mills. He has factories where he makes cocaine. And yeah, I think I stick by my first statement. He's making cocaine. They're sending it into the United States. So he does have to watch his ass.
Mr. President, did you notify any members of Congress in advance?
Marco, do you want to talk about that? Because you were involved.
Sure. We called members of Congress immediately after. This was not the kind of mission that you can do congressional notification on. It was a trigger-based mission in which conditions had to be met night after night. We watched and monitored that for a number of days. So it's just simply not the kind of mission you can call people and say, hey, we may do this at some point in the next 15 days. But it's largely a law enforcement function. Remember, at the end of the day, at its core, this was an arrest of 2 indicted fugitives of American justice, and the Department of War supported the Department of Justice in that job. Now, there are broader policy implications here, but it's just not the kind of mission that you can pre-notify because it endangers the mission.
Plus, if I could add one thing to that, Congress has a tendency to leak. This would not be good. If they leaked, General, I think it would have been maybe a very different result. But I have to say, they knew we were coming at some point, We had a lot of ships out there. They sort of knew we were coming. We went there. But Congress will leak, and we don't want leakers.
Mr. President, you were one of the only people to watch this all play out live. What was Maduro doing when the U.S. forces entered what I assume would be his home? And also, was there any point where the U.S. was considering if Maduro pushed back or resisted killing Maduro?
It could have happened. It could have happened. He was trying to get into a safe place. The safe place is all steel. And he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast. They went through the opposition so fast. And there was a lot of opposition. People were wondering, did we get them by surprise? Sort of surprised, but they were waiting for something. It was a lot of opposition. There was a lot of gunfire. You saw some of it today. But he was trying to get to his safe place, which wasn't safe because we would have had the door blown up in about 47 seconds, they say on average, regardless of how thick the steel was. It was a very thick door. It was a very heavy door, but he was unable to get to that door. He made it to the door. He was unable to close it.
Where is Maduro going to be in the time being right now? Do you know his exact
Well,
whereabouts?
ultimately, in the near future, he's going to be brought to New York.
And where is he going to be held? Where is he going to be held in New York? Do you know?
That's going to be up to the officials that do the
All right, I needed us to listen to Trump himself tell you that they would definitely be in charge of the oil pipelines, the oil wells in Venezuela. They imposed, I think the deputy president is the one there, but Trump said that they do not respect her. So obviously they're going to put someone in there in the interim that they think they would respect, but obviously it's going to be under the US's jurisdiction. And the question that a lot of persons are asking is, did Trump literally have the right to do what he did? What kind of sovereign, every nation is supposed to be equal. So what right does Trump need, or what audacity does Trump have to do what he did? That's another question a couple of people are asking, especially for those who follow geopolitics. Now, I want us to remember that in 2017, thereabout, yes, beyond the time, Washington imposed economic sanction on Venezuela, followed by sanctions 2 years after, the oil sanctions. Apparently, Nicolas Maduro had actually sold some of the licenses, some of the American licenses to other countries. And another funny thing is that Maduro is a close ally of China and Russia. So they ask questions, how come these two world powers did not stop Trump from doing what he did? Or they could not even, there was no negotiation, or Trump did not speak with them before he did what he did? That question was asked. And to be honest with you, there's nothing they could have done. The interest of those people is themselves. If they ask a question between the deep blue sea and the hard rock, what would they choose? Obviously, they work with America. And what is the interest there? Negotiations will be had behind the scenes. Venezuela has close ties with China as well as with Russia. And obviously, Russia would go with America. But then what happened. Very few people knew about this, because according to Trump, if more people knew about this, it would have been dangerous. None of the soldiers, or none of the, what do you call them? We call them SWAT operators who went in there were hurt or injured, but there was indeed a gun battle at the time. Nicolas Maduro had a safe space but couldn't get there on time. They said before he could close the door, they actually brought him out. So according to Trump, he's claiming that Caracas is using oil money to finance drug terrorism, human trafficking, murder and kidnapping. And at the start of his second term in 2025, they had ended licenses that allowed multinational oil and gas companies to operate in Venezuela. I'm talking about multinational American oil licenses. They actually stopped them from operating. This obviously stirred the gore for the US president. Now, one of the major companies that was denied his license to stop operating was Chevron, US company Chevron. That was the only one to receive an exemption. Now, Chevron operates 4 oil fields in Venezuela in partnership with state-owned PDVSA and its affiliates. Washington has also imposed a total blockade on sanctioned tankers going to and from Venezuela. Now, if you recall before now, we saw fleets of ships, American ships, all right, taking over some oil tanks on the high sea. That is close to the border of Venezuela, and some of them were also arrested. I remember at the time Venezuelan president was asking the American president exactly why they were, will I say, apprehending or capturing their troops and some of their tankers that were conveying oil. Now, for the Trump believes that Venezuela is actually having a lot of illegal migrants into the US, and they've saturated the United States with a lot of drugs, illegal drugs. That's what Trump is actually claiming. But the big question is here. Does this literally mean that America can decide that any nation that does not live up to what it wants, they can actually come in there? Now, what is the relationship between US, America, and what transpired, US, Nigeria, and what currently happened with Venezuela? There are questions as to that. Maybe there is a supposed talk of regime change, and that's why Trump has his interest in Nigeria. There are other people saying that Trump is not happy with the Muslim ticket, making Nigeria seem like an Islamic nation, and something sinister is actually up his sleeves. Others believe that one thing that exonerated President Tinubu was because he worked quietly with the US when they decided that they were going to be swift in handling terrorists in Nigeria. So the collaboration could have been one of his saving grace. Others are now asking, was the president even aware of what was going on? Because currently he's not in the country. And then to make matters worse, after what happened on December 25, 2025, we've been seeing more brazen and sporadic attacks by Islamic State terrorists. What does this actually mean? In Niger State, 30 persons killed and a lot of persons abducted, communities razed. That's not the only thing. In Kogi State, an inspector general was kidnapped, begging on camera. The terrorists put a gun on his head and they were, demanding for ransom. What does this actually stipulate about our security architecture? And the ground troops that the president told us they have, including our Air Force, how long will the American government do what they did on the 25th of December 2025 to eradicate these guys because they're getting more brazen? These are very intricate questions to respond to, but let's look at the political the political implication of what Trump did in Venezuela and how Nigeria too is at a crossroad in here with what Trump recently did. A lot of Nigerians are kind of happy and saying, Trump, please pull the same stunt you put in Venezuela in Nigeria. And the big question is, would you actually want that? Because at the end of the day, whenever America comes somewhere and they decide to take over that government, when they leave, things are usually not the same in some instances. But America made reference to how they intervened in Iran and other countries that had bad leadership, and when they intervened, according to them, democracy was sustained. Is that true with Afghanistan? Is that true with Libya? We're going to look at the pros and cons of this. But however, let's take a very good listen to, I'm going to be calling Mr. Sheikh Gumi to actually give us his own explanation politically. What does this represent for Nigeria? What does this mean for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Does this mean that to prevent any of this ahead of 2027, the APC would have to choose either a Christian vice presidential candidate or another, possibly somebody who is not a Muslim, all right, but somebody from the north who is a Christian that will be the president's deputy? Because the Muslim ticket, they say, is a tick on the nerve of US President Donald Trump. But why is this actually very important? Why is this of a necessity? Why should America either be comfortable or uncomfortable with the leadership of certain nations that they consider to be affiliates? How does it help them in any way? We're going to look into this in the course of the conversation. Meanwhile, there's another interesting scenario to consider right here in Nigeria is concerning Nyesom Wike. He seems to be within a deep rock and obviously a very huge Red Sea at the moment. He says that Fubara is never going to come back. And Fubara says, you know what, you're not going to determine that. Now, we don't know what is causing the political uprising, but according to Wike, he's already galvanizing for Tinubu ahead of 2027. Now, the question some people think is possibly this is a game plan. Tinubu trying to set up Fubara and Wike against themselves and have the upper hand at the end of the day. How true is that? We're going to consider that in the course of the conversation. In the meantime, interestingly too, Sheikh Gumi is already crying out. He says he received a call from a senior official in Abuja warning him that he has been listed by the United States of America for elimination via an American airstrike. Allegedly, as part of Boko Haram, northern leaders and Islamic clerics must speak out against the false accusations. And because of that, most of the tweets Sheikh Gumi had written on social media against America has actually been deleted. Let's take a very brief listen to Sheikh Gumi's statement there.
kuma kun san dukan ku ƙarya ne da ƙarya ka kawo hari, amma ina shugabannin me suka yi? Sun set. Ina malamai? Shiru. Kawo muna hari kan ƙarya. Tsoratar da mu.
All right. So that's Mr. Sheikh Gumi right there. He has deleted all his tweets and apparently he's afraid of the US doing what they know how to do. Mr. Sheikh, good evening. Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Good evening, Papa.
Yes, happy Sunday to you. I'm fine. I am fine.
Same to you.
Okay, so I know that you're watching ball. I already believe that. I know. So I don't want to waste your
wrong.
I know, I don't want to waste your time. So let's just go straight in. Because of what happened, I think yesterday or day before yesterday with the Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro, apparently Nigerians are now focusing on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. There are talks that maybe Trump wants a regime change in Nigeria, that this is a step to change the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and possibly there could be some changes in that regard. before 2027 or by 2027. Others say because of what the Muslim ticket represents, and that could be a tick up the nerve of Trump, that there's a possibility that the APC would have to cede the vice presidential ticket for 2027 to a Christian, but obviously that Christian may be from the north. So the question now is this: how do you analyze the situation with Venezuela? Because Trump admitted it is to secure their oil wells. It's all about oil. Trump did what he did. The American government will take interim charge of Venezuela. So regardless of all the allegations against Venezuela and the drugs and illegality ongoing, does Trump have the right to do what he did? That's one. Two, Trump did not inform the House about this mission, this secret mission. He said if he did, there were going to be leaks and it would have been dangerous because it was a very sensitive mission. In other words, Nigerians now said it's very possible that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu can take decisions on the spot without going through the National Assembly. Case in point, the state of emergency in Rivers State, and what he also did with Benin Republic when he sent 2 fighter jets down to that country to restore democracy without speaking with the House of Representatives or the Senate. What's your take on this, sir?
So first of all, I think it's important for us to understand without evocation of any thought.
Okay.
We have to be clear, right, that what Trump did is illegal. It is illegal. Under international law and convention, there are procedures to pursue if you feel that anybody, not just the president, but more so the president, whether illegal or illegitimate or whatever name you want to give that person, if you feel that person has committed a crime in your own territory, in your country, there are international conventions that you have to follow to seek redress and get justice. You cannot be the executioner, the judge, and the victim in your own case. So you can't accuse somebody of committing crimes against your country and maybe other international jurisdictions as well, and also be the one to now go and declare the person that is responsible guilty, and you are the one that will go and arrest the person, you are the one that will try the person. It's absolute nonsense. This is, unfortunately, I can't say it's unprecedented because it has happened before by this same United States. It's important for us to understand that this is illegal under international law and convention, and unfortunately, nothing will happen because this is the United States. They are a big country, right is might as far as they are concerned. Not just under Trump, over the years, this is how America has always operated. When America was going to invade Iraq, they cooked up a lie about weapons of mass destruction. We all know now that it was a lie. But they cooked it up, and without waiting for the international community, for the United Nations, to ratify any kind of action, they moved unilaterally and did a regime change, toppled Saddam Hussein. Right? So this is not a new thing, but it is important to understand that it is illegal. Number two, Tinubu and our president, and Nigeria. Sorry. One of the reasons that this has happened to Maduro, very important reason, is that Maduro refused to play ball. He was very hardline in his approach to his interactions and relations to the United States, and with Trump in particular, which is why Trump eventually decided, you know what, I'm taking this guy out.